because the NBA draft is coming up in the next maybe 2.5, 3 weeks, and we're going to be redrafting definitely one of the best NBA draft class of all time. One I'm actually kind of surprised I've never done before, the 2003 NBA draft class. Now, if you don't know who's in this draft class, don't look it up. Stick around. You're going to find out. So, basically in these videos, I just redraft the top 10 picks in the NBA draft that happened in 2003. Obviously, drafts have a lot of buzz, a lot of great players that go way late in the draft. This is their chance to get it right. So, I'm going to just be doing it in my own opinion. I guess the top 10 players of this draft class, maybe just whatever I feel it better fits them. So yeah, make sure you do like the video. If you do like the video, you want me to do more of these, like the video. If you want me to do a different draft class, which also comment down below another draft class I should do. If you're excited for the draft, who you think is going to go number one in this upcoming NBA draft class, or even your own sort of rendition of this, let me know down in the comments. I'd love to know your opinion. And yeah, subscribe to the channel for all the randomness that I post on here, and I guess we can finally get started. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are here with the number 10 pick, which actually, let me check who had the number 10 pick in that draft. The Washington Wizards pick. That's pretty crazy to think about, but today they have the 10th pick, and they are picking a high IQ player, in my opinion, a player who you might know him on a San Antonio Spurs team. That player is a Boris Diaw. Yes, I'm starting out a redrafting video with Boris Diaw. Boris Diaw, again, a super high IQ player. I'm surprised he's not some sort of in a coaching position somewhere. Maybe he is, and I'm just not knowing of that. But Boris Diaw, a pretty solid NBA player. Definitely a guy you would want on your team, you'd want on your bench. He did average over his career about 9 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists. Pretty average, you could say. He did win the 2005-2006 Most Improved Player Award, and was also an NBA champion in 2014, again a year that he was on the San Antonio Spurs, like I said, more notably on the Spurs. Now again, Boris Diaw isn't going to be a crazy type of player that's going to change your franchise. I think the best he averaged in his career was 13 points back in 2005, 2006. He also did it again in 2008, 2009. A pretty typical 10-point per game score his entire career though, but again, high IQ. He's definitely going to be moving the ball pretty well as a big man, averaging nearly 5 assists at his best, having about 6 rebounds, again, also at his best. Going to be doing pretty much what you would expect from a big in the 2000s, very mid. But then again, if you think about any players in the 2000s, a lot of mid-tier players, but I think as 10, Boris Diaw, high IQ player, I think any team would love to have that on a team. I know, definitely not sort of the big-time names that we might see of today. You know, obviously drafts in today's era of basketball definitely are a lot deeper, for sure. But that's just, you know, the talent in the NBA is just crazy deep nowadays. Now we're on to pick number 9. And with pick number 9, again, let's see whose pick this was back in the day. It was the New York Knicks, okay. The New York Knicks had the pick number 9 in 2003. Their pick, I guess their new pick, at least in my opinion, as a player who was an all-star, which I know Knicks fans would really love to have one of those guys. It's Chris Kaman. Again, definitely, if you're a person who is like me, who only really started to watch basketball, it's an A, whoops, who only really, I love using pencil because I can erase it now, who only really started watching basketball in the 2010s, didn't really know a lot about Chris Kaman. Knew he was an average rotational big, but he was an all-star in the, I think, mid to later 2000s. Chris Kaman's career stats, again, nothing too crazy. 11 points, 8 rebounds, not even 2 assists a game, but was an all-star. That year he was an all-star was in the year 2009, 2010, so right around when I really started to get really into basketball. He averaged 18.5 points. He also averaged over a block. Again, under an assist, so not really the best passing big like you would get a big with Boris Diaw. also 9 rebounds a game. Pretty insane, not gonna lie, from a player like that. So he was an all-star, but that was really his best year. The year prior, he averaged 12. The year before that, he averaged 16. So he had 2 pretty solid years in the NBA, averaging 18.5 and then 16. Anything other than that, he averaged around 12 points per game. So at his peak, he was pretty solid, and definitely, obviously, in the era where the big man is now, dead in today's NBA, he was a bag to the basket, beat down type of center. He really used his size to his advantage. I mean, this dude was what, 7 foot, 270, 280. Like, this guy was a beast of a man. But man, what a player he was when he was getting his touches in the LA Clipper uniform. Next up at pick number 8. We have the Milwaukee Bucks, actually. Milwaukee Bucks had this pick. And this is definitely a player that I will bet a good lump sum of money that maybe 70-80% of you watching this video don't even know who this player is. And he's a player that I have forgotten about, but I know at one point in time was actually kind of a pretty nice player until he got hurt. And that player is actually Josh Howard. I know, just such a bad name for a guy in the NBA. Just a typical name. This guy could be a local car dealership man, but this guy was in the NBA, and he was actually pretty solid. Like I said, he was a 6'7", 220 forward, sort of a two-way style of player, and he was also an all-star for 1 year. Also was on the All-NBA rookie team as well. Career averages of 14 points, 6 rebounds, and 1.6 assists, playing for a majority of his career with the Dallas Mavericks and also on the Dallas Maverick almost title team in the run they had there against the Miami Heat with D-Wade and Shaq. So he was on that Dirk Nowitzki sort of MVP era of Dallas. Get this, for 4 years in the NBA, he averaged over 16 points per game, his best in his All-Star year, averaging basically 20 points per game, which is pretty insane. Also over a steal, about 7 rebounds, pretty much doing it like a typical NBA forward would during that time period. Not really much of a three-point shooter, shooting around, in the upper, 35% sort of era. But then again, back in the 2000s, if you can shoot anywhere 35%, that's a great shooter back in that era. Again, sort of a two-way wing, could defend, could score. I find that very valuable, other than a big man who was the best player on a very bad team, and then a role player like Boris Diaw. I think Josh Howard could have had some sort of potential there in his NBA career. Who knows? Okay, where's my thing? There it is. Going on to pick number 7 here. I definitely crammed these guys a little too much, I think. Do apologize for that, and make this bigger so you guys can see what I'm writing. I keep forgetting that. Alright, with pick number 7. Pick 7 back in this draft was actually the Chicago Bulls. And I'll tell you who it was, because I'm not going to pick them. It was Captain Kirk Heinrich. Yes, this was Kirk Heinrich. For all you Chicago Bulls fan, I hope you know who Captain Kirk is. And it is also a one-time All-Star. I think a one-time All-Star, maybe multiple. And it's Kyle Korver. Yes, one of the, if not at one point in time, the best three-point shooter. Kyle Korver, maybe arguable, you could even say. But, yeah, Kyle Korver. Again, you might think, wow, a guy who can only shoot the three, going 7 over a guy who is known as a two-way player or an NBA big on the best team, the best player on a team. Yes, you are correct. But did you not just see what I said? He is known as one of the greatest three-point shooters of all time. If not, again, arguably, man, this dude was maybe the best at one point in time before Steph Curry had his big showing off in the 2010s era. So, like I said, not that much of a scorer, only averaging 9 points in his entire career. Not much of a passer at all. I mean, some seasons in the NBA, he actually averaged less than 1 assist a game. But, three-point shooting, insane. At one point in time, he averaged 54%. Yes, 54% on threes. I mean 41, 44, 46, 47, 50, 40, 45, 40, 47. Like, this dude was averaging in the 40 percentile his entire career, basically, on three-point shooting, putting up, I mean, around, what, three-pointers a game, which, again, during this time period was hard to do. Not a lot of people were doing it, but during his Atlanta run in 2014, 2015, on that crazy, I think, 60-win Atlanta Hawk team, was an all-star, averaging 12 points as well, and he was averaging, 49% from threes, averaging about 3 a game, averaging about 6 a game, making about 3. I think for sure, in the right sort of place and time, could have even been better if Kyle Korver was drafted in today's era. Holy cow. Well, I guess that would just be maybe like Duncan Robinson, maybe you could say, but that's another argument to be had. Alright, number 6. Okay, number 6. This marker's really going out. I need to buy new markers and stuff for my videos. So this pick was originally the LA Clippers, which this pick was actually Chris Kaman back in the day, but I'm not picking him. Obviously, I already picked him. I'm actually going to be picking, man, a bona fide bucket getter, and it is yes, it is Mo Williams. Mo Williams. It's Liams. Mo Williams. Mo Williams averaged his career 13 points and about 5 assists a game, which, again, I think the reason why I put him maybe over someone like Kyle Korver, who's really just an elite three-point shooter and maybe one of the best of all time, but Mo Williams was a great shooter, a great scorer, could get to the rim, could finish very well during his heyday, but also a pretty underrated assist guy, again, averaging 5 assists his entire career when he's really just known as being a scorer. Great ball handling skills as well, being 6'1". He won a title in 2016. He was on the 3-1 Cavalier team, and also an All-Star with, yes, that lone season he was with LeBron, and LeBron James basically made him an All-Star in 2008, 2009. He averaged at his best 18 points per game and about 4 assists that year. Pretty wild, that All-Star year. But then again, he has multiple 17-point per game outings his career, averaging basically, I would say, maybe about 14 his career. Like I said before, he averaged about 14 his entire career. Man, but like I said, very underrated as this guy. Coming into the NBA his rookie year, averaging only 1 assist, to the next year averaging 6 assists a game, and basically carrying that 6 to 5, averaging his entire career. Very underrated in my opinion. He also played for Portland back in the day as well, being sort of a 6-man with Damian Lillard. Lillard really talks a lot very highly of Mo Williams, really teaching him a lot about being confident in the NBA and stuff like that. So you can thank a lot of Dame's sort of confidence and success to a veteran like Mo Williams. Really, really crucial in Dame's sort of career. And yeah, I think again, Mo Williams, just a super solid NBA player, sort of a really good offensively skilled, obviously defensively very poor. You can say the same thing about Kyle Korver, so maybe that's why they're sort of averaging sort of at the same level. You could flip these guys over if you really want to. That's totally fine, but I think the other skills of Mo Williams, again, being very good finisher, very good driver, very fast, obviously an assist, a very underrated guy at that, so does a little bit more than just being, one of the best two-pointers of all time, which is also very important. Top 5. Coming in at number 5 is, again, a very much forgotten name in the NBA during this time period, and I don't know if he was actually riddled with injury or just sort of, again, got played out of the NBA because of, again, the sort of the era we're living in now was sort of made when he was really good. And that is David West. Yes, David West was drafted in 2003. I totally forgot about that as well. David West, man, if you don't know David West, please go ahead and do a little research on him, because very underrated during this era for sure. He averaged in his career 14 points per game, 6 rebounds, also a 2-time All-Star, 2-time NBA champion. Pretty cool. Mostly during that era in New Orleans with Chris Paul. Yes, him and Chris Paul were basically the dynamic duo during that time period. His rookie year, he averaged 4 points per game. 2 years after his rookie season, so his third season, he averaged 17 points. So from 4 points to 17 in about a 3-year span. Insane. Then he goes on to average 18, 20, 21, 19, 19 points. Basically for like a 5-6 year stretch, he was averaging 20 points per game, which again, very underrated in that time period as well, averaging about 7.5 to 9 rebounds during that time period. Just a super high IQ player now, passing not so much, only averaging about 2 to 3 during that sort of prime stint that he had, and was an All-Star from 2007 to 2009. Pretty insane, and again, very underrated, at least in my own opinion. I don't remember if he was sort of derailed with injury or anything like that, but was on the Golden State Warriors from 2016 to 2018. That's where those 2 titles come from, so super high IQ, really solid player in New Orleans. Obviously, when that team really only had him, and Chris Paul couldn't really go anywhere. They did go to the playoffs, though, and again, 2-time All-Star David West. I think in his peak, in his prime, what a player, and again, sort of got played out of his sort of play style, back to the basket, sort of skill for big. By the way, that's the Miami Heat pick. Now we're on to pick number 4. Ooh, yes, in fact, was the Toronto Raptors back in 2003. I'm sure you guys know the top tier area of this draft class. But we're going to go through them anyway. We have your boy, basically a Raptor legend. We have Chris Bosh. And my goodness, the jump, well, I don't want to be disrespectful to David West, but the jump of talent from 4 to 5, and just from like 2 picks ago to this is just, it's insane gap to Chris Bosh. I mean, man, what a player he was for the Toronto Raptors. We obviously know him being a multiple-time champion, but 11-time All-Star. Yes, 11-time All-Star. That is such a, that's longer than some people's careers in the NBA. He's in the Hall of Fame, 2-time champ, All-NBA team member 2006, made the All-Rookie team as well. I mean, man, just the prototypical stretch big he is. Again, him, Dirk Nowitzki. You could probably throw in a couple other names here and there from sort of that era, maybe even Blake Griffin, sort of the stretch big, like he was one of the founders of being a stretch big in today's NBA, like we see nowadays. Basically was an all-star, well, actually, not basically, he was an all-star every year from 2005 to 2016. Whoa. Very, 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 very cool. Basically averaging 20 points his entire career. His average is 19. His rebounding average is 8.5. I mean, man, if you want to talk about, again, a great high IQ player, a great teammate, a great locker room guy, and although his 3-point sort of averagings weren't all that great, you definitely knew that he could have been a good stretch 3 guy if that just would have been more, I don't know, utilized during his era of basketball. But man, he was a mid-range god, post god. This dude was a pick and pop maestro for sure. And there's some players that I want to talk about, but I won't. But in his teams that he's been on, was a focal point, was a role player, was a great team player, was the best player on the team. He did it all in his NBA career and always had a big smile on his face about it, and that's what I love. Chris Bosh, what a guy. Coming in at pick number 3 now. Top three. This is where we actually get some controversy. Although, you know, you could definitely argue one over the other, and I could see you arguing one over the other because maybe one was just a bit more fortunate in his NBA career, but I do not care. I'm still picking one guy over the other. And at number 3, 26, 24, 29, 27, 25. Multiple, about 25 point per game seasons. Denver, Melo is just hands down again one of the greatest scorers we've ever seen in NBA history. Could post you up, could mid-range, could drive, very athletic back in the day. Great three-point shooter, could isolate, great ball handling. I mean, again, when we talk about how we see KD nowadays, that's how we viewed Carmelo back in the day. So, big ups to Carmelo. Maybe if he was on sort of a better team. I mean, Denver was always pretty good, but they were never great. And even on the Knicks, they tried to do something but never did. Melo, if he got the chance back in those days, man, he'd be a multiple-time NBA champion, no doubt about it, if he just would have gotten a little bit more help. And one of them is a player that, again, you could probably, if you're thinking about singular basketball talent, you could definitely argue Melo over this guy. But I really like this player. And maybe it could be biased, I don't know. But at number 2, I got the other heel with Dwyane Wade. Yeah, it's W-Y. Very weird way to spell Dwayne. I think he's probably the only Dwayne with it. It's spelled that way. Dwyane Wade, ladies and gentlemen. What a NBA player Dwyane Wade was. And quite honestly, if we're taking, Michael Jordan, the greatest shooting guard of all time, and Kobe Bryant, the only person to even idolize and mirror Michael Jordan off the board, Dwyane Wade is the greatest shooting guard in the NBA's history. Like, that's crazy how close he is to being the greatest at his position. He's only behind the GOAT and the only person to mirror the GOAT. That's crazy how great of a shooting guard Dwyane Wade was. He was a 13-time All-Star, led the league in scoring in 2009, 3-time NBA champion, 8-time All-NBA team member, Rookie of the Year. All-Rookie team member, 3-time defensive team member, which again is another thing. Carmelo was a very solid NBA defender during his heyday, in his prime, but D-Wade would lock up players who were 6 foot to probably 6'8" during his prime, and probably the best blocking guard in NBA history, for sure. Was also the best player on a title-winning team in 2005, 2006. Very crazy to think about that as well. Was the All-Star Game MVP and also a member of the 75th anniversary team, averaging in his career 22 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Again, a little bit more of a do-it-all player than Carmelo. Sorry, Carmelo. I do love you, though. But yeah, in my opinion, 2008, 2009, Dwyane Wade should have been the MVP. He should have won at least an MVP during that sort of 2000s era of him because, man, 30 points, 7.5 assists, 5 rebounds, also 2 steals, and over a block for a guard who's about 6'3", 6'4". I mean, man, he did it all that year. Dwyane Wade, without even having a great jump shot, was just such a dominant player, and all the way until sort of the end of the Miami Heat era that he was with, was just such a fun player to watch. And obviously his injury really, put him on a little bit of a downward spiral, kind of after the 2010s era was sort of done and over with. What a run D-Wade had, and again, when you think about it, he's one of the greatest players in NBA history, and there's no doubt about it, and one of my favorite players. I'm sure he's probably one of your favorite players as well. What a great showman of the game. But he's not number 1. Because I know that you know who number 1 is. And that's because number 1 obviously the Cavaliers. This was the Detroit Pistons, I think, at 2. This is Darko Milicic, I think, if I can remember. Yeah, this was Detroit, and then this was the Denver Nuggets, and yeah, Toronto, the Miami Heat. Man, Darko Milicic, that's crazy. Anyways, yeah, LeBron. Obviously winning Rookie of the Year, 18-time All-Star, 4-time NBA champion, 4-time MVP, 4 times Finals MVP, 6-time All-Defensive Team member, scoring champion, assist, led the league in assist. It's LeBron James. Anyways, during his sort of heyday in his career, which you could still argue is nowadays because he's actually averaging the most amount of points in his entire career. Yes, 2021 and 2022, LeBron averaged the most points in his entire career. Also, just 2 years ago, averaged the most assists anyone had in the NBA, leading the league. He also led the league in scoring in 2008, which again, he just does it all. He can guard 1 through 5. He can defend. He can assist. He can do this, do that, do this, do that, do this, do that. We know LeBron, he is the best player in this draft. Maybe the best player of all time. He is, to a lot of people, the GOAT. I don't think he is, but I think he is the best. I think he's the best, most talented player to ever pick up a basketball, ever. But he's not my GOAT. That's still Jordan. But that's another discussion. Yeah, that's basically it. I think this is a really solid draft. I think, again, LeBron at number 1 is sort of cemented. That is unchangeable. But I think definitely if you love Carmelo, I think you definitely could argue him into that 2 spot and put D-Wade at 3. Maybe you could say, hey, if Carmelo was with that Heat team, he'd be a multiple-time champion. He'd be better this, better that. That makes a lot of sense. I understand you. Bosh, after that, makes sense. And then after David West, I feel like is a very solidified spot as well. After this, man, you could throw Chris Kaman at 6, and I would agree with you because he is an all-star big man, a very, very dominant player during that time period. Korver, one of the greatest new pushers of all time. Even Boris, Diaw, you want to move him up, go for it. But I think this is a pretty solid listing. So definitely let me know down in the comments how I did, what you would do, who do you think goes which and where. This was definitely a lot of fun. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to